So you get a container, plastic container again, that you can hold it in. Preferably one with holes in it like that. If there's no holes, you make one or two, not a lot. One or two for a little drainage. Because otherwise the water just stays there and then mold happens, especially now it's summer. So you would get enough toilet roll holders to fill this thing. Okay. So this is one toilet roll and it would fold like this at the end. So I'm going to show you now how to fold that. So you would take a toilet roll and you would cut 4 strips. Doesn't have to be very high. 4 strips like that. You see, like that. Now you would fold these strips in over each other. Okay, so it will look like this. Don't worry about if it pops up all the time. It doesn't matter, because the soil, once it's in the container with the soil, it will then just come right. Okay, so now you've made these. Now you can either write on here what you are planting. So for example, I'm planting spinach. So I'm going to write spinach and the date. Or you can take one of these that you made and write on here. Like this. Okay. Now we'll go back to this container. And these you will now put back in here. And then for these purposes, I'm not going to do all of that because we don't have a lot of time. So again, now you'll take your sand. And I have a small little one that I use for these types of things. So you will take your sand. And now you'll fill it. Just be careful, maybe hold the bottom of it just to make sure that the sand doesn't fall out. You'll fill it halfway. Each one you will fill halfway. Okay. There you can see the sand. Okay. Make the sand a little flat. And you'll do the same for all the others. And then you will place it down. And you can then put more sand around the bottom. You can put more sand around the bottom of the base if you want to. If it's not secure enough, but you don't have to. And then we're going to take more spinach. Now remember, you can plant whatever you want to. So you can make seed taping of broccoli. You can make toilet roll holders with the spinach. You can make the planter thing with the onions. Whatever you want to, you can do. So I'm going to take about 3 seeds, just in case, because not all seeds germinate. And you push it, you like we did with the other thing, you just spread it around a little. They mustn't be too close to each other. And you push them down into the soil a little bit. Okay, because you mustn't be able to see it when you finished. So you just push it down and then you water it. So this tippy tap thing pressure tap is also nice because you can also squeeze the water out as you need it when you're doing stuff like this, like I did now. And there you wet it, and now you just cover it. So when all of them are this size, it will be, it will close properly. But now they're still up, so they won't close properly, but you will close it. And then you will put it in a dark place again. Oh, and you will put, if you're going to do this labeling, then you will put this labeling in there as well, so that you can see what this is. And then you put this in a dark place for about 5 days. But every day check on it, and you put your finger in the soil to feel, is the soil still moist or is it dry? If it's dry, then you add a little more water, but not too much, because you don't want to drown the thing, but it mustn't be dry also. So just, you have to, when you are germinating seeds, you have to check periodically what's happening there. Okay, the next thing is the egg boxes. Is everybody with me? Am I going too fast? Yes, no, somebody?
Hi, Wendy. I'm in with you.
Is everybody with me? Okay. Egg boxes.
Can I just ask something
Yeah.
before you start? Can you use the 24 one?
Yes. So you can use any size. Preferably with a lid, but it's not necessary. So these things will go straight into the ground. You can either, and this also, when you are finished.
Okay, because we've got that.
Okay, am I back?
One.
Okay, when you are when you see that something is growing out, when there's a little leaf or something, you wait until there's about 4 leaves. Then you can put this in the ground as is, because this decomposes. So it will disintegrate and it will feed the soil and make the soil more rich. Because anything that is natural is good for the soil to break down in the soil and decompose. So this, when they have like 4 leaves or something on it, you put it directly in the soil. But you have to constantly check. So it takes about 2 weeks until it has about 4 leaves. 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how hot it is and how much water you're giving it. So the same with these. So with this, you simply are going to fill each one with soil. Like that. Okay, you'll fill each one with soil. On the lid, here on top, you will then write what it is that is in here. If, for example, you have a big tray and you want to have maybe a long row of spinach and then a long row of onions and a long row of broccoli, then you will make lines here and you will write what each one is and then the date, just so that you know what is what. Okay, so I'm just doing spinach again. And so as you can see, you just write in there again, and your seeds you put in there. So here you will use less seeds because the space is less. So maybe 2 or 1, it depends on you. Because you also don't want to be wasteful with your seeds. So you will then put the seeds down and you push it down so that you don't see it, and then you cover it. You can just pinch it close also. That's also a nice way to cover it. And then you put a little water on. And there you go. Oops. Now you can close this and also put it in a dark place. But the holes already so air can flow through. And then you'd come and check again with the soil. Is there a question? Okay, so you'll check.
Hi, Cindy.
You're breaking up?
I wanted to ask with the box, we don't have the spinach.
Okay.
So the cabbage and beetroot and beans and parsley and
Okay.
carrots. And
yeah, so you use that. This is just from my seeds that I have at home.
Swiss chard.
Swiss chard is just another form of spinach. So,
yeah.
Yeah, you have spinach.
I was gonna say that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So then you put this in a dark place and there you go. Those are the different types of seeding. And then if you want to work in a 2-liter, you will then make 1, 2, 3, 4 rows and you'll write down what it is and you'll put that there. And then in here, you will make a line with your finger. Okay, if you're going to make 4 rows, you make 4 lines with your finger. And in those lines, you will sprinkle your seeds. So now I'm going to sprinkle some seeds in those lines. You don't need to worry about space. And then you pinch it closed. So you would pinch it closed like this. And then once everything is closed and you know where your lines are, you will then label this again. Spinach. And you can have a row of broccoli, a row of Swiss chard, a row of onions, whatever. So when you are dealing with bigger containers, always try and write towards the top part because it needs to go in deeper. So then it will be like that. See, then you can still see sticking out what this actually is. And you have to make holes at the bottom before. Obviously now I had sand in this from the beginning. So before you start, you take an empty one and you make the holes at the bottom, as many holes as possible for drainage. Because if you don't have drainage, the water will stay there and get moldy and cause all kinds of diseases in your soil and so on. So drainage is very important. And then you fill with your 50% sand, or if you don't have 50-50, then just your normal sand, and you then throw your fertilizer over as Sean will tell you. And then this doesn't need to be in a dark space because they're on top of each other, so they'll create more moisture. So you can leave it in your kitchen or in your garage or even outside. It does need sunlight. So that's the difference between those types and having a big container. When you are planting seeds directly into a big container, it needs a lot of sunlight, not dark and moist. Because the germinating process here is you want to create sort of like a greenhouse effect. So a greenhouse is normally moist and dark. And so that's the type of environment you want to create so that germination can happen, because germination is a difficult process because a lot of seeds don't always germinate. So you want to germinate as many seeds as possible. Once you see there is a root and a little stem, you can then put it into this or directly into the ground. That is from this and the seed taping and the toilet roll holding. But this, will also grow till, it's about this high. And then you can then transplant it directly into the ground. And that basically is how you do different types of seeding. And that you do before you even start your actual gardening in the ground. So these are just various methods that you can use at home. If you don't have a garden, these are normally the routes you will take. You will normally plant in pots, in 2 or 5 liter tubs, in the water bottles the cold drink bottles that we did now. Any tires, anything you can find, you will then use these methods to grow and then either transplant or plant it directly into it like that. But those are what you use before you even get to the ground, which is where Sean will then show you how to actually, there's many different ways that you can plant in the ground, but he has a very specific, unique way. But these are mainly to get the ball rolling until then. So for today, for tomorrow, or whenever you have time, whatever method of today is easier for you, try that. Or try 2 of them. You can even try all of them. The more the better, so that you can gain experience with how these different types work, what works for you. Some people, the seed typing works. Some people, the egg boxes work. It's up to you how you want to do it. But you won't know until you try. So these are the different germinating methods that you can use until you get to the actual gardening. Because you normally in the garden, you don't normally plant seeds directly. Because you don't know, is it growing, isn't it? And you're going to have to wait forever. And the conditions outside are very uncontrolled. So normally they would suggest that you do these types of methods that we covered this evening to start the growth of your seeds into little plantlings. We call it seedlings or plantlings. And once they have passed, it's like a baby. The first trimester is very touch and go. So you almost don't want to tell anybody you're pregnant because you might miscarry. So it's the same with seeds. It's touch and go. You want to ensure that you're creating an environment that will make them grow, so that when they get to plant stage, you can, okay, they passed the worst. Now you can put them into the ground. And then your garden can start from there, because that's a whole other journey. But to initiate the start, this is basically what you do. Now, what I also want to cover is permaculture. And permaculture, who knows what permaculture is? Does anybody know?
Yes.
Okay, do you maybe want to tell us one thing?
It's when you plant maybe veggies that are connected to one another with maybe a flower that's gonna chase away maybe the bugs. I don't know, but it's when you can plant families together with a plant in between, and you can also plant maybe on a concrete using cardboards and stuff.
So that's a different type of planting a vegetable garden. I'm sure Sean will go over that. If he doesn't, I will cover it when the time comes. But you touched on really good points. So permaculture basically is sustainability between ecosystems. So it is building a sustainable ecosystem between humans and plants, between other plants and plants, between all different animals and plants. So it's sort of like not just focusing on agriculture, but rather a holistic approach. And when you go into nature, you see this everywhere. So if you go into a forest, you'll see how ecosystems work. So the frogs need the water, and they lay eggs in the water that help the fish, and they give off certain nutrients that the plants then soak up. So everybody has a role that they play in an ecosystem in order for the whole system to work together. And so that basically is what permaculture is. It is a sustainable approach of development where you are fusing life and plants and ecosystems, basically. And so, as people, just like you need to understand the people that you work with, how they think, how they work, their attitudes, their responses. We also need to apply the same thing with plants. We need to understand how they work. Like plants are beings in a sense. So, I don't know if you've heard of when you speak to plants nicely. There was a study that was done. They played. Sorry? Okay. They played classical music to the plants 24/7. And those plants flourished like amazingly because the classical music has these good frequencies and vibrations that sort of grow the plants. They also did another study where they spoke bad words. They just kept on swearing at the plant and, just bad negative stuff. And in the other plant, they were nurturing and just spoke beautiful words, positivity, kindness, all of that. And the plant where they just did negative things with didn't grow. It just stayed there. But the other plant flourished. So they respond to external sensory things. They respond to words. They like animals as well. When you treat your dog right, it has that sense. A dog can sense if someone is not a good person. A dog can sense those things. So plants can sense the same thing. And so it is important for us to realize that when we are going to work in gardens, we need to realize that we need to treat our plants with care, with tenderness, with nurturing, because that also aids in their growth, that aids in the nutrition that is being built in the plant as well, just like the soil is important. Okay, Esther, you have a question? Esther, do you have a question? You put your hand up. No? Okay. So basically that is how we need to...
Sorry, Cindy. No, I don't have...
Basically, that is how...
Okay.
Apologies, Cindy.
Okay. No problem. So that basically is the concept of permaculture, where you basically are fusing circular economic systems. You are fusing man ecosystems, animal ecosystems, and plant ecosystems all in one. And so it's not a tunnel vision of, I'm only growing plants. It is a holistic approach of you are nurturing an environment and you are growing an environment. So you'll see lots of bugs are beneficial and important for plants. Lots of flowers are beneficial and important for the veggies growth. And that's why intercropping is very important, where you bring in flowers like nasturtiums or what are those orange flowers? I can't think of the name now. But anyway, they then come and they help kill the aphids and some of the other bugs, and they sometimes nutrify the soil. Like if you have weeds in between, like dandelions, so they nitrogen fix the soil, which is very good for the soil. So different plants, different animals have very good benefits that are beneficial for the growth of the plant. So don't just think things must just be pulled out. It mustn't. Things need to be there. They play a role, and as we continue this journey, we will understand what the role is that each of the different components play. Okay, so that's all I have for this evening. I hope that you learned something today. I hope that it was beneficial. Does anybody have any questions, any remarks? Because we don't have much time left.
sorry, man, I do have a question.
Okay.
I'm not sure that you can say this. The first one that is done.
Okay.
Do I put this outside? Do I put it in a dark place? It's my first time planting, so I'm not sure what is happening.
You can put it on the windowsill in the kitchen or near sunlight. That would be fine. It doesn't need to go into a dark place. So remember, the bigger the container, the more it will need sunlight. The smaller the container, like the seed taping, the egg boxes, the tissue roll, the toilet roll holders, they are smaller, more contact, so they need dark places. But the bigger ones, your 2 liters, your 5 liters, those types of things need sunlight and space. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so as you can see, you don't necessarily need an actual garden. There are many ways to skin a cat. These are some of the ways that you can actually grow your vegetables as well, by using containers, tires, pots, whatever you can get, baths, toilets, buckets, whatever you can get your hands on, that's what you can use. Think out of the box. Think of how you can use what you have around you to create your sustainable environment, and whatever works for you, make it work. So thank you for coming tonight. Sean will be in touch as to when he'll be available for the next meeting. I did explain his circumstances right now, and we wish him safety and all the best. But I want to thank you so much for being part of this pilot project and for coming tonight. It was really appreciated, and I hope that you have a good evening. I will post these videos on the group. I just need to edit it a bit, and then I'll post it on the group for those that missed out this evening. And so that you can know, because I know most of you probably didn't do as we were busy this evening, but you can now go and start your journey. And I would like everybody to at least do one of these. Okay? And I want you to post it on the group, and at least either an egg box or a toilet roll holder or the seed taping. Okay? I want you to do at least one of those and one of this, and plant and show it on the group. That's your homework. Okay, so thank you everybody, and have a blessed evening. Bye.
Thank you.
It was really informative.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Well done, We are ready.
Awesome. Fabulous job, Minty.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
How do I get out?